Hello guys, hello my friends. And this is Marina Yudina, and this is the next episode of the Queen of Success show. I want to introduce you my dear friend and my wonderful guest today, who I very appreciate. He came to this Sunday, beautiful day in the Santa Monica area in California, and I want to introduce you Sergio. So, he was born in Madrid, in Spain. When he was 15 years old, he left to Mexico. And then, when he became 21 years old, he came to United States of America. He's been here for 23 years already. He is a public speaker, entertainer, TV host, and entrepreneur. He's been a salesman since age 16. We'll get deeper to that point. So, first he hosts first late night talk show in Spanish. It's the first talk show in United States history in Spanish. He's an international sales trainer, having held courses in front of as many as 7,000 people. His past, he had anxiety, addiction, and trauma, but he always learning and thriving to be the best and very best. Welcome. I want to welcome Sergio. Thank you so much.
How are you, Marina?
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. The pleasure is
you.
all mine. Hello,
Thank
hello.
you. Hello. So before we get to the point where you are like we are staying right now, and you are a very successful person, very professional, you are a speaker in front of 7,000 people. I can't even imagine that. I want to go backward. Yes. I want to go back in your life story.
Okay.
So you was born in Madrid.
I was born in Madrid, Spain.
Okay, 15 years old. So you was born with a, golden spoon in your mouth, or what happened?
Not at all. So I was born in Madrid, and we migrated to Zaragoza, where it's a small town northeast, where my mother was actually born. And when I remember my first memory when I was 5, 6 years old was I wasn't comfortable with who I was. I wanted to be somebody else doing something else. And I remember having that as my first emotion that I can remember the day of today. Because of it, I was always in a quest. Early on, I saw people behaving in a way where I felt I didn't belong. So I was always in a quest, wanting to fill in a way that void that I had inside. And I knew I wanted to experience, I wanted to travel, and I wanted to get to know myself and experience the world. So I think that's in a way what drove me really early on to be interested about traveling and pursuing unorthodox ways of living. So I remember when I was 12, 13, I started not feeling comfortable in school. When I was 14 years old, I stopped going to school.
May I ask you why? Why not comfortable? I'm sure that your story, a lot of people will resonate, with your story, will recognize themselves in your story, and it will help them to go through some maybe difficult time and become more successful people. What happened? If I may ask, if it's uncomfortable, don't answer.
No, absolutely. There's nothing to hide, and if my story can help somebody that might be watching this, absolutely, by all means. I was just not inspired by my teachers. I felt anxious inside the classroom. I was not interested in the subjects. I liked theater. I liked the sports. I liked the social aspect of the school, but I just did not. And I was not stupid. Like, it's not that I didn't understand. I just considered a waste of time to be in a classroom for so long, spending time in those things. So when I was 14, I just made the decision to stop going to school.
Okay.
And I started studying the subjects that really interested me.
What did you start studying?
Self-development.
Okay.
Entrepreneurship.
In 14 years old?
Yeah. And this is a time when there was no Facebook.
Yeah,
there was no
that's
internet.
there was no
internet.
Yeah, it's nothing, how did you, 14 years old in Brazil?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
start doing, wow, okay.
Yeah, so-
How
so-
did you get the information? Library?
So I will go to libraries, and I remember I learned a lot in magazines and publications. So I will go to libraries, I will go to bookstores, and I will read biographies of people that really inspired me. And I started studying, and I consider myself a big student. So the funny thing is, I stopped going to school when I was 14, but I never stopped studying even until today.
Good, good point.
People go to school, they go to high school, they do maybe college, and they stop studying. I stopped going to school by the age of 14, but I haven't stopped studying until today.
Yeah, yeah.
I keep learning and going to seminars. I found that seminars are a great way of learning really practical, solid, concise information in the subjects that you might find interesting to take your level, your life to the next level. So yeah, I started studying and being inspired, reading biographies of people whose lives, not necessarily I wanted to imitate, but that were exciting to me. And early on, something inside of me told me, and this is at the time where salespeople, or saying that you were a salesman, there was a big taboo about it. Like if you were a sales guy, you were sneaky, you were unethical, you were a liar. But early on, I something told me that by becoming a master at the art of selling, that I will acquire the tools that will let me live the life that I wanted. And I have to say that today, considering myself a master salesman, and I'm saying that in a very humble way, what I love about mastering the art of selling is that regardless the economy, regardless the industry, if you know how to move product, if you know how to sell, you're always going to find a job, and you're always going to find a way to support yourself and your family. So I will. I'm a big defender of the concept, and I do promote it as an incredible way of living. I think salesmanship, it's a great skill that anybody needs to master. So I encourage people to learn the art of selling.
Yeah, thank you. Any names that been inspiring you when you were young? Any characters that you can remember?
Of course.
Any biographies?
Yes, absolutely. Winston Churchill really inspired me. I really loved Anthony Robbins. I really liked Grant Cardone, and the Henry Ford. I always found extremely interesting the individuals that decided to believe in an idea and a concept, not having the resources, not having the tools, not having the money, being in the wrong environment, yet they were fixated about about a specific idea.
Yep.
And they chose to believe in that concept of idea manifesting itself and becoming a reality. And because they held on to that concept and that idea, they ended up materializing it, regardless not having the resources. So somehow and it's not that I'm a masochist, that I was always attracted to a difficult life, but the concept of not giving up and overcoming obstacles and finding that the way to make something a reality really interested me.
Okay. So what was your first sale? You became a salesperson at 16 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
So what did you sell?
So my first job as a salesperson was in Mexico, when I moved in Mexico, and I was 16 years old, and I was selling taximeters. These devices that will measure the distance and will be used to charge people for the trip. So I was selling a digital upgraded version of that device, because back in the day they used to be mechanical.
Yeah.
The taximeter, so I sold the first digital one.
Wow. Was it a successful sale?
Oh yeah.
You made
so
some money?
for a while.
What did you do with your first, you get the money, what did you do?
Eat.
You were hungry?
Dinner, restaurants, absolutely. Yeah, I've been living on my own since I was 15 years old.
Wow.
So I moved from Spain. I moved to Mexico when I was 16, and since I was 16, I've been living on my own and working.
Okay, so where did you live?
I rented a room.
Okay.
I rented a room in an apartment.
Okay.
And I was working during the day, 12, 14 hours in a garage. And actually, at the beginning, I was an installer, but then I saw value on upselling products to clients, because the dynamic was the taxi driver will be dropping off the taxi to be serviced, and the taxi driver will spend like 45 minutes and an hour in a waiting room.
Okay.
So I found opportunity in connecting with the drivers while they were waiting, right? So and I was thinking, how could I make money? I found that I could interact with taxi drivers and use that time to upsell them some products.
Okay. All right. So then you've been staying in Mexico, and then you moved to United States.
That's
yeah.
right.
How did that happen? That transition?
So I was in Acapulco at the time, and I came in contact with an individual that wanted to start a business in the United States. I was 20 years old, and it was in the VoIP, voice over internet protocol business. So it was something similar to what today we know as Skype.
Okay.
So we this individual developed a way of communicating through DSL, the internet, and it was a modem-like feature that would allow people to talk for free indefinitely using the internet. Now, we know we can do that today for free with the iPhone, right?
Yeah,
with Skype,
right,
with Zoom.
like here, yeah.
But back in the day, and I'm talking about 97, 98, that didn't exist. And companies will have $100,000 a month AT&T bills because they will spend $2 a minute speaking internationally. So we thought it was going to be a great business, and we came to United States, and I thought I was going to be a billionaire by the age of 25, but the business fell miserably because the concept and the idea was great, but the internet itself, the DSL couldn't support our technology. So we fell on our faces, and by the time we were fixing it, Skype, all these big companies started coming through. So I guess we missed the train, but we tried. It was a great learning experience.
Wow, okay. So you mentioned, okay, then what happened? Then you moved to the United States.
So I'm already in the United States?
Yeah, you're already in the United States, okay.
Yes, and I've always been a big fan of comedy.
Oh, wow.
And I realized that nobody was doing a late night talk show in the Spanish market. So
let's get to that.
I'm a big fan of the late night talk shows, which is a format that's proven to be successful all over the world for more than 50 years. Some countries today, you have to understand, they have 20 late night talk shows, right, in different channels. So nobody was doing it in the Spanish market. So what I did is I wrote, financed, and produced a pilot, and I sold it. I sold it to the second largest of Spanish producing content in the world, and I became the first late night talk show host in the United States in Spanish.
Okay, so that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So now I hide behind the camera a little bit, to ask you a question. Of course, it was some bad time and the good time. So how did you mentioned about you are very open about your emotional stages and about your health in general.
Yes.
And you mentioned that you've been struggling with some anxiety, emotional depression, addiction. Can you elaborate on that? Can you go deeper?
Of course. So in this life that I can tell my life in a way. Let me rephrase that. I can tell my story in two different ways. I can show you the sexy, successful, amazing side of my life, which has been. I've traveled all over the world. I have 2 successful businesses today. I've done 2 television shows, podcasts, trainings, and as you were mentioning, in front of as many as 7,000 people. But the reality is that I've been homeless twice before my 20th birthday. Many often times I was hungry. I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. I didn't know how I was going to eat today, let alone pay my rent, right? And I did suffer along the way in this emotional roller coaster with anxiety, a lot of fear, depression, and I've suffered from addiction. Now, my understanding today of addiction is I was using substances and types of behaviors as a medicine, if you will, to heal the condition, right? And I'm going to borrow some words from the great Dr. Gabor Mate. Dr. Gabor Mate defines addiction as behavior, not necessarily substances. Of course, the nicotine, alcohol, drugs can be very addictive, but Dr. Gabor Mate defines addiction as a behavior that one individual engages on to either bring pleasure or avoid pain that therefore one craves, that brings negative consequences in the long run, yet one cannot stop. So let me say that one more time. Addiction manifests itself in a behavior that either brings pleasure or prevents pain, therefore one craves, that brings negative consequences in the long term, yet one cannot stop. So based on that, the question is not, why the drinking or why the drugs, because they're being used to fix the situation, right? To heal the pain or bring pleasure, right? So the question is not why the drugs, why the drinking, or why the behavior, because shopping can be an addiction, sex can be an addiction, relationships, right, can be an addiction. So it's not why that thing, but rather why the pain, right? And if we were to dig into it, and I'm not an addiction expert, but I've done a lot of research on the subject, it has to do with trauma in your past life. Earlier in your life, in your past. So that's become another part of my obsessions, is the constant, I'm sober today, I've been sober for a while, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, but because I've had that past, I am very sensitive to it, and I'm a big student of that as well, and always trying to learn how can I become a better version of myself and achieve a better state of happiness and become more, so I can do more, right, for my family, loved ones, for the people around me, for society. So that's what I've been spending also a big part of my time doing in my sobriety.
Thank you so much. I know it's a touchy subject, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate your honesty. And I know you have a beautiful family. You have 3 girls.
3 daughters.
3 daughters, and your older daughter now, she went to London.
She's in London, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a singer.
Yeah, she's a singer. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have a beautiful wife, beautiful family. So how I know your busy life, your busy schedule, how you manage all of that, be a good father, be a good husband, and be the best salesperson and the teacher for a lot of people.
So I think that one topic that I've made very important, very big in my life, is to keep dreaming and keep going after those dreams. I feel that as long as I protect my happiness and I will be healthy, and I will be a healthy person to those around me, right? So I'm very big about keep growing and always achieving more, and I think that as long as we keep growing and we keep aiming for more, and we keep being ambitious. Now, ambitious not in a greedy way, but ambitious as far as experiencing and being able to do more, so we can give more. We will be healthy members of society. The more that I want, the more that I go after my dreams, the more that I am in that state of growing, achieving, and wanting, I think the better that I am to those around me. I'm just very aware, and it might seem weird for some people, right? But I know depression, I know sadness, I know fear so well that I know very much how to not be in that state. You see, if I am building, if I am growing, if I am focused on a goal, regardless how far it is from me, I am not in a state of fear, depression, and anxiety, right? So that's why for me, if I ever feel like I am bored or I am not inspired, I know it's time for a new goal. I know it's time for a new dream. Or maybe it's time for me to reflect and see, maybe I'm in this state of fear, anxiety, and depression because I've quit, I've given up, and I'm no longer wanting to fight because I don't believe that that thing that I want can become a reality, right? So that's why I'm constantly in that state of growing and wanting to develop myself further. It's because for me, and this is the addictive personality, right? I have a switch that's on.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose that path of being, which is becoming, learning, achieving, experiencing, and because I otherwise I tend to go in a very negative state of mind.
So you kind of like constantly checking yourself. You're like a checklist, like
Yeah.
in the morning, like, you know, how do you feel? Yeah, where am I right now? This kind of stage, and that's good. You know, like me, you know, every morning I do the gratitudes. When I'm driving to work, I always, you know, send some gratitude, how grateful I am, you know, for the day, for my clients, for the people around me. This kind of set up my day. So, okay, you are a very busy man, you know, with all your activities. How do you relax? If it's any relaxation in your life, how do you relax? What do you do?
So lately, I've been protecting time with my little one, and
How
I
old
will
is
go
she?
to the movies. She's 12,
Okay,
but in my eyes, she's still my baby.
okay.
But I'll go to the movies with her. I've been going to the gym. I love swimming.
Okay.
That is something that I've been with a lot of jealousy protecting that time for myself. But you see, I see it even I see it as an essential part of health, well-being, and growth. Meaning, it's not that I check out and I take time off just because of it. No, I focused on, listen, now it's time to relax and recharge so I can be better, right? So even I'm conscious about it. Like, okay, this is a time where I need to disconnect and relax so I can recharge myself. Because there's a big difference between really relaxing in order to rest than disconnecting in order to avoid, right?
Yeah, and
not
isolate.
face.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah.
I found that disconnecting just to avoid preventing dealing with that thing that you need to do just creates more stress. And people confuse that.
Okay.
So for me, it's very big. Like when I'm relaxing, I know that what I'm doing, and it's my job is to be present right now in this thing that I'm doing that is bringing me pleasure right now, because that is going to recharge me and then allow me to focus on facing that thing that's in front of me, which is very different. A lot of people relax just so they can disconnect and avoid dealing with the thing they have to deal with. So even that for me, it's something very conscious. You were just saying something right now. Before we were changing the topic that I wanted to address, you say, are you constantly checking yourself? And I've developed the sensitivity, and or you could call it experience, where if I am not feeling good and I'm not happy with myself, I got to a point where I no longer blame the industry, the economy, the environment. I
The
point the finger
weather,
at me.
you know, yeah.
Either, okay, I'm not feeling good, maybe because I overeat,
Okay.
I didn't sleep
Yeah,
well,
that's-
I am not taking action fixing a problem, because I've learned that when we don't, you see, the easiest thing is to we love gray areas, we love taking shortcuts, but I've learned that problems don't go away unless you face them and you fix
You
them.
fix them,
right?
yeah.
So I check myself constantly, and if I'm not happy or doing well, I really look inward and I say, okay, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong that's creating this state? So in a way, I point the finger at me.
Okay.
And I think that's very important, because if you don't develop the capacity to look inwards that way, I have a feeling that it's going to be very difficult to be happy or content, because you're always going to be blaming something else, something external. And I really think that we have the capacity and should have the responsibility to fix ourselves and deal with ourselves, and in a way, that way we can control our lives.
Yeah, wonderful. So tell me, do you use any resources like a meditation, yoga, any another, that help you to develop your good mental stage and help you with the moving forward with your goals?
So right now, my main focus is neurofeedback. That's why
Thank you.
I'm here with Dr. Marina Udina, and we're becoming really good friends. I've been in this quest to I know I can be so much more. I know I can give so much more and experience so much more. And I'm unhappy with some of the choices I've made in the past. And that's why I've always tried to deal with my fear, anxiety, insecurity, regardless the face that I put to the world,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think I became a really good actor early on.
Oh yeah,
To
nobody will.
show confidence and limit
Yep,
of
yep.
success but be dying literally inside of fear, right? So I've tried to deal a lot with my internal life with medication, with therapy, with drugs, with alcohol, always to wanted to fix my insides. And now I'm at a point in my life where I've learned that every time that I engage in an addictive behavior, that again being a drink or a drug or even over exercising
Yeah.
or shopping
Overdoing.
or
Yeah.
overdoing
Yeah.
anything, right?
Anything.
Because it's easy to not drink. You see, it's easy to quit
Yeah.
drinking, but you're not dealing
But
with the
then, yeah.
situation. It shows up somewhere else. So right now, what I am really enjoying that it's helping me. That, by the way, I notice an immediate effect in my well-being. It's neurofeedback, and I remember that somebody that I respect dearly recommended you to me, and after us spending 2 minutes on the phone, it just made so much sense to me. Non-invasive procedure that helps regulate and enhance the very tool and organ that governs everything, which is the brain. And through the practice and the protocols that you've designed for neurofeedback, assist that part of the brain that might not be operating the way that it should be, and just that it just made so much sense to me, because the brain, and this is research that I've done outside your
Yeah.
practice, the brain is the perfect chemical machine that can generate any chemical that you need to feel the way you want or you should, right? And that if you're not feeling the way a normal person should feel, there might be a problem with the way your brain operates, and that can be caused by trauma, emotional, physical, poor environment growing up, which it's my case, and
Yeah.
and you know, and I think that other type of behavior or drugs just mask the symptom and don't deal with the root of it and fix it. And I feel that with neurofeedback, you are custom making protocols that are helping me and my brain, and I really like the process. Like before you selling me a service, what you did is you did a map of my brain. You saw how my brain was behaving and responding to certain stimuli, and you were able to identify the areas that needed improvement, right?
Yep. And we talk a lot, of course, and yeah, that's.
And
Thank you. Yeah.
no.
I'm so grateful that we have a chance to work, and I'm grateful that I can help you.
Yeah.
And another lot
But
of
this,
people.
it's you see,
Yeah.
it's. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But you know what's and I think that this should be and I hope it gets to get spread around, right? Because there are people that, for example, their children suffer from anxiety, ADHD, depression, and they don't know that this non-invasive procedure practice exists. And they embark in an endless journey of medication and doctors and toxicity, right? Never dealing with the source of the problem. I cannot speak about, using neurofeedback to heal, when children from ADHD, because I didn't experience it myself, but I've seen countless cases. I've talked to people that have been to Marina's practice that have shown great improvement and have saved as a result tens of thousands of dollars in therapy, years with doctors and medication, because neurofeedback has helped them, because it just deals directly with the issue. Like, I think people should know more and about this practice, because the thing is, Marina, me being an entrepreneur, being out there in the world, being a student, not being afraid to invest and spend money, because I've tried everything. I didn't know about neurofeedback until I was 41 years old. You see? So I wish people knew more about this practice. I don't know why it's been suppressed. I don't know why, but I wish people knew that that because it just, if you think about it, it just makes sense. Because the brain is an organ, let's call it the organ, right? That sends signals that instruct the body how to behave. Meaning, if the brain sends the wrong signal, the heart is not going to do its job. Neither is the stomach or the pancreas or the nervous system, right? So I found this fascinating. I love the fact that I'm not taking anything, right? Again, non-invasive, and I want to keep experiencing it. I want to keep growing within the practice, and sharing the positive outcomes that I might be experiencing. Right away, in my case, I started sleeping so much better, and I'm able to focus. And what do I mean by that? Like, even I remember the first session, right? And I know now that I'm having a different experience, I realize at the time I thought I was having a normal experience. But now that I'm not behaving the same way, I can tell that I was out of my mind. What do I mean by that? I remember the first time that I sat down for my first session of neurofeedback, and my instruction was very simple. Just be present watching this, right? I was worrying and suffering my past. I was stressed out and afraid of the future. And I was writing an email in my head while I was watching something. And what a chaotic way of living is that. And I think that I was spending way too much of my time in that state. And I think a lot of people are. And right now, after just, this is my second round of sessions, but even in this second round, I notice a big difference between session 10 and 1. Like, it's also, it's quick, it's fast, right? Like when I sit down to watch a movie, right, and you're using a protocol, like, I can be present in that thing that's in front of me. I don't need to be constructing emails, being afraid, worrying, carrying the past. I can just be present. And if we take that thought to the next level and we look into it a little bit more, is how healthy that has to be to be in a state and have the capacity to just be present right now. Not running 1,000 miles per hour, constantly spending energy. Like, that has to be really unhealthy. And I think that's why, people are seeing stress-caused diseases so early on, right? So anyway, I encourage everybody to
thank you. You sell me now. And thank you.
Give this a shot.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a big fan.
Much. Thank you. So, what, like, maybe in the end of our beautiful conversation, again, thank you so much for coming. Maybe, some advice, 3 advices or any advices, for the people who would like to achieve their goals, who've been struggling, with also with something, and what steps, any advices to our people?
Very, very simple. The best message.
Simplicity, the key of the success.
Okay, you know what? I've been asked this question before, and the best way to answer it is, the most honest and authentic way of answering this is, knowing what I know now, what advice would I give myself when I was 15 years old?
Okay, yeah.
And
that's good.
Understand, Sergio, I'm going to speak to myself, that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to. That the most important relationship we're ever going to have is with ourselves. That the concept that I have of myself is going to determine my success. It's not the IQ, it's not the resources, it's not the college degree, but my capacity to believe that I can achieve my goals, and that I might fall 1,000 times, but as long as I keep getting up, I will be successful. A winner is nothing more than a loser that's tried it one more time. I was doing a speaking event with an extremely successful individual. He's in the internet advertising world, has one of the biggest marketing agencies on the planet. Value his fortune $3.5 billion. He's we were in New York, and the guy's leaning against the wall, broken t-shirt, broken jeans. These guys from New York. A very successful guy, and he tells me, Sergio, do you know what blows my mind? People talk about the 3 companies that I have that are successful. Nobody mentions the 17 businesses that I started that failed. You see, that told me that this individual is so successful, not because he's brilliant, his IQ, but rather because he never quit.
Yeah, exactly.
In life, you never lose. You either win or you learn. have clarity, go after your goals, don't quit until you get them.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now
Be
let's
well.
go and rest and be well and don't give up.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.